It never fails. Whenever we think we've taken care of all the issues with the RV, there turns out to be 1, 2, 3, or more problems.
We have a problem. Looks like the seal's gone bad. This line right here, it's that flex stuff held with a PEX clamp, plastic fitting going into the toilet and running down into the basement quite a ways. What I'm going to replace it with is PEX with a shutoff valve and a brass clamp and a brass valve. And we have another problem. The water pump's leaking. So let's see what it is. It's a Flomax. So the good thing is, Shelley ordered the parts for me. And it's a kit. It comes with a new ball valve, a new floor gasket, and a new seal for that ball valve, with some gaskets and looks like Teflon washers.
You've got to remember, his disease has taken a toll on him and he's working hard to get his strength and energy back. But like most men, his pride won't let him quit till he's worn out. Things aren't as easy as he makes them out to be.
The weather here for the last few days has been awesome. Comfy and cool at night means no ACs needed, and temperate and warm days. Basically what we're all looking for, you know, chasing 70 degrees. That being said, we've noticed that over the last few weeks, our RV's toilet hasn't been maintaining its water level, and now we found it dry more often than not. That's an interesting segue. I've wanted to do some preventative maintenance to the plumbing behind our RV's Nautilus. That's the RV's management cabinet. Now with the pot seals failing, I had asked Shelley to go ahead and order the repair kit. And I figured that while we waited for the delivery, I'd go ahead and jump into some of that preventive maintenance. What's that Gomer Pyle says? Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
First on my list was just to replace that said flexi vinyl hose that comes from the back of the Nautilus panel and goes up in through the floor to the back of the pot. Which doesn't really have a shutoff valve to the pot itself like you'd find in a residential house. And just change the whole thing to PEX with PEX fittings to avoid a potential leak in the future. So I marked the hose where it comes through the floor with a Sharpie, so I'd know the amount that I'd have to have above the floor line. Went out and grabbed my blue PEX tubing and the 1/4 turn inline 1/2 inch valve, and made a fitting with a 90-degree inline swivel adapter out of brass, and connected that to the PEX on the end to go to the back of the pot, putting a 3-inch piece of PEX tubing between the valve and that swivel fitting, and then just left it there so that I could come back after getting everything in the basement set up. Went down to the basement of our 390 RK and pulled everything out that I needed to be able to access the back of that Nautilus panel. And guess what I found? Yep, water. Not a whole lot, but enough to really twerk me. I went ahead and removed the bulkheads and started sopping up the mess. It wasn't a whole lot, but it did take 3 towels to really sop it all up. And they were big ones, old bath towels that we're now using for rags. It kind of looked like the leak was coming from under the water pump. Well, it's been in the rig for 5 years now, and we've never had any trouble with it, so it kind of looked like it might be the culprit. After getting everything dried up, I went ahead and tested the system with just city water and not drawing from our tank with the water pump. No apparent leaks, but not wanting to tempt fate till we can get a new pump in, I just opted to make sure that we didn't use it until that happens. For some reason this just didn't seem right, but yeah, stranger things have happened. So let's tackle the flexi line to the pot. It was of course behind the black ABS pipe that comes down from the pot to the black tank. And I needed to remove a couple of hangers to be able to get at where it was at. It ran only about 3 feet to what else but a PEX T-clamp with a PEX clamp on it. Over time they all seem to leak from this kind of fitting. You'd never get away with this in a residential structure. I turned off the city water and opened the 2 low point drains at the panel. Put down some more towels just in case and snipped off the PEX clamp in the basement fitting. Went back inside the RV and pulled that section of vinyl hose out. I used it as a template to make a similar hose with PEX and brass fittings, leaving enough to make it up through the floor with a little bit extra to attach to my valve and swivel fitting at the back of the toilet. I'd have to trim it to size inside the RV and then attach a PEX clamp to finish the job. Done, and pretty proud of myself. Oh yeah, some bruises and a sore back from squirreling around inside that basement. But now I had my shutoff valve at the back of the toilet, and I had removed another potential leak. I turned the city water back on and double-checked my newly manufactured hose, and did a quick check under that water pump, still dry. So I thought I was pretty smart. For some reason, I decided to leave everything open and let it dry out, and then I'd check my work again in the morning. Man, was I sore. So I went to bed early, somewhat confident in my work. So why'd I leave it open? Oh yeah, to let it dry out. Yeah, that's the ticket.
I'm taking the 5th. No, I'm taking all 5 of them. Yeah, that's it, ticket.
Yeah. Fast forward to the next day. Grizz's walk and practice, my workout, and then back to the RV. Sent Grizz inside and grabbed my 1 bazillion candle power lantern. Looked down below and oh no, more water. But first I checked my handiwork. What a relief. No leaks there. Was it the pump? No, the pump was dry. I followed the water back a foot or so, and wouldn't you know it, another vinyl to PEX fitting. This time I could see the calcium build up right at that fitting. This one was only about 1.5 feet long, but it had a really odd place. It'd require me to remove a couple of the basement furnace hoses and some other fittings to be able to get at it. And would have me at some really odd angles with all that electrical wiring down there. So back out, got my extra tubing, my fittings and tools, and shut the city water off again, draining again at the low point. More towels, and what a pain in the arse this was becoming. Cutting PEX clamps, removing the tubing, and creating more out of PEX with proper PEX fittings. Several 90-degree bends, then trying to fit it all back in. Then reclamp my PEX artwork back into place. It took more time than I wanted it to. Right nearby were 3 more pieces of that suspect vinyl. So I did the same for each. Gouged by sharp-pointed screws and sharp I don't know whats. Bleeding and bruised, and not to mention a few hours later. I cleaned up the mess and turned the water back on to check for leaks. Dry as a bone, I climbed out looking much more like an older man all hunched over. and turned the panel from city to dry camping, then flipped on the water pump. I could hear it loud and clear running up to pressure the lines. I crawled back in to check the lines in the pump, and no leaks. I waited out there for just about an hour to be sure, and still nothing. Still dry. Then turned off the pump and switched back to city water. Turned the hose bib back on and waited some more. After a total of about 2 hours, still no leaks. I cleaned up my mess, my tools and my spare parts, and left everything open just in case. This day started like the previous, except this time Grizz and I checked for leaks before our routine. None found. When we got back, I sent him in with Mom and finished doing my checks to make sure there were no leaks. I finished cleaning and closing everything back up. Guess I'm not going to need to buy that water pump just yet. Oh yeah, I still have to finish the toilet. We'll do that on another day. I just want to go in and rest now. I sure hope Shelly's got enough Band-Aids. Thank you all for hanging out with us, and thanks to all of our patrons for their contributions to this channel.
Thank you, Kurt, Katie, Jim, and Jeff, for becoming our insiders and a part of our team. And thank you, Jeff, for your super thanks.
We also got another super thanks, this time from Jeff. If you could, please give us a like. It really does help this channel. Thank you. See you next week. Yes, I know. Yes, I know. I know. See you next week. Please, travel safe.